Welcome to Take It from the Ironwoman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Ironwoman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Ironwoman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. This podcast is being sponsored by Get Loopy. On episode 41, you can hear the story of Isabel, the co-founder and CEO. Get Loopy, get a 20% discount off your first order. GetLoopy.com. Take it from the Ironwoman. I say we only have special guests. Who is Gabe who's going to join us here on the podcast? It's going to be very fun.
Yeah, so my name is Gabe Couture.
Gabe has more questions for me. We spoke already about the nutrition.
What about injuries along the way? Have you had to deal with injuries, knees, ankle issues? And how have you felt your body sort of get back to feeling healthy after? I was speaking with a friend recently who's training for a marathon, and unfortunately it was canceled because of the coronavirus, but she had reached pretty much that 32-kilometer point where they say typically that's about as high as you get until you get to that, to the actual marathon day. And she's like, my knees are done. I'm not running for a long time. So I wonder about that experience.
Yeah, so I've been a running coach and I've coached many people for the marathon, but it's, first of all, you need to have good shoes. You need to, if you train for a marathon, you probably need 2 or even 3 pairs of running shoes. So it's about finding that right moment when to get to the new shoes. I have to say for the Ironman, I was very lucky. I didn't have any injury except once I fell off the bike and I was like, oh my God, I can't fall off the bike. It was so steep and I just fell and I fell on my shoulder. I mean, I was so slow, it didn't hurt so much, but it was just more the psychological factor of like, oh my God, in 3 weeks, I have the big event. I can't fall now. Or I tripped once while running on a rock, I think. And I was like, what if I fall? So it's more that the fear, what if something happens? I think I went injury-free to the start, not knowing. And sometimes, when you said you signed up for my podcast, sometimes not knowing what can happen, at least for me, is a good thing. So I didn't know what would happen to me. The only thing that I knew was if something would happen on the bike, let's say, I don't know, I lost a wheel or I don't know, something with the brakes would happen, I knew that would be the end for me. I was just praying that everything would work fine with the bike and the rest I knew would work well. And also when you say you're a good swimmer, I was so afraid of the swimming. But then actually the swimming was so beautiful. It's in Lake Placid on that beautiful lake and the sun went just up and it was just in a way magical. And when you think it's 2.4 mile swim compared to 112 miles on the bike, it's actually the shortest distance. Mm-hmm. Nothing compared to how many miles and how many hours you're on the bike.
How long did it take you to complete the whole thing?
I was just under 17 hours. I was 16 hours and 40 because I said to my coach, I don't want to kill myself. Once you're an Ironman, you're always an Ironman. And everybody starts at the same place and ends at the same place, right? It's about completing it and being happy and moving on with life.
And so what would you say is your biggest lesson from having completed the Ironman following that experience, the full Ironman?
Well, I think it's having it completed certainly is a huge accomplishment. I also take it into my work. So I say global business coaching with sports parallels. Whatever you do in sports, you can transfer into business. It's about determination. It's about having positive attitude, positive energy, and just use that being a role model, maybe a crazy role model for others. But it's that attitude that you have, never giving up, that anything that comes your way, it cannot be as hard as an Ironman or a marathon. So that you maybe have an advantage over people who have never done it, that you can say, I know how hard it is. When I'm on the bike and somebody's, you have to dig deeper. And I'm like, okay, I can dig deeper. I know it's another, whatever, 2-3 hours I have to be on the bike. That you probably have the endurance and the determination in not giving up. I think that's what I learned a lot. I have to say, once you're probably over that plateau, it was fun. I mean, I felt great. If I had to do it now, I'm a little out of shape. But once you're in that shape, it feels like you can conquer everything and anything.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine.
Can we sign you up now? I feel like I'm the spokesperson for the Ironman race now for you.
I'm convincing myself as we speak. Remember my spontaneous yes person inside of me. The problem now is I have two major things working against me. Number one is I'm epileptic, so being very tired is not the best thing for me. Okay. So that's working against me, although I wouldn't say that it's stopping me yet until I've tried it. The other one is that in December I'm going to have a kid. So with a newborn in the family for the first time, I don't think that my wife would be thrilled with me leaving the house multiple hours a week to train for an Ironman. Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, what I found interesting, or what I find interesting, is I've read a number of times now that people who do those ultra marathons, like the average age of ultra marathoners is something like late 40s or something, or early 50s. Yep. Right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like you've reached a stage in your life where, yes, you're in physical decline to a certain extent, like as it just genetically, but it doesn't mean that you can't be at a very peak health level if you work at it. And you have the mentality, the maturity to decide, if I'm going to do this, I'm just going to do this. You also probably have some sort of peace of mind, and you're probably, like you were saying earlier, a lot of the people who compete are probably pretty successful people to begin with in their lives. So they probably feel a sense of freedom with taking on these challenges, as opposed to being like, am I ever going to be able to retire? Right? Yeah. That's the other side of the coin. But so now I'm taking small steps. Like maybe I should work on that half marathon that is so close to me that I can probably get done in the next 3 months or so. Because I mean, just a few weeks ago, I was running those 18 Ks. I was doing 40K a week easily.
Yeah. My observation actually is I did a half Ironman a little outside of New York City, and a friend of mine was volunteering, and she says she has never seen so many pregnant women and men competing. So I don't know, this might be a phenomenon or just maybe that event that we were there. But it also seems like that sometimes the people, they just want to do that. And I think this might be a conversation between you and your wife about priorities, right? Can we do this? You might be more home. I can train more. I think it's all in your head if you want to do that. And I like what you said, your observation that the people tend to be on the older side. I think when I did my Ironman, I was in company of an 18-year-old, and he said it actually was his birthday, and you can only compete as of the age of 18. So before that, you cannot. And his parents are doing Ironman. So he said, oh, my father and my mother, I'm sure they're already done. I'm the slow one. It's my first one. It's possible. One of the experience I had in a half Ironman, when you are in a competition, they put your age on your calf. So you basically, when you run behind somebody, you see how old they are. Everybody's honest. It's an honor system. And
that person's older than me. I've got to beat them.
Well, listen to the story. It gets better. So that man in front of me had 71 on his calf. And I'm running. I'm like, come on, I can beat a 71-year-old man. I could not. I kid you not. I could not pass this man. This man was ahead of me. It goes to show that age is not, it's only a number. And actually in Ironman, probably people are a little on the overside. And it's actually that maturity and probably craziness and determination that you need in order to complete this.
Maybe I'll try to carry the newborn on my back while I train.
Ah, that would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now my question for you is like, what do you think you have learned in terms of like, what can you in terms of leadership? Now, maybe not so much about sports because we almost have you there. What do you think you could transfer from the sports into the leadership and to the work that you're doing?
Well, I mean, I think you touched upon it. To achieve a certain goal like that is you need a process, right? Like you don't go from wanting to one day to doing it the next. It's saying, this is my system. This is what I need to go through to get to a point where I'm ready to do that. And I think that kind of attitude, that kind of approach to thing is applicable to everything that you do. For example, I learned to speak Spanish, and I never pushed myself to have it done by a certain amount of, look at that, I'm fluent. I'm reading books in Spanish. And you remarked, if I start without too much pressure and I just make sure to keep at it a little bit here and there, what you can take out of these experiences is to say, I'm going to set this big goal. Failure is not accomplishing it. Failure is not even trying to do it. Or if you're not capable, something is blocking you, being able to identify what that blocker is. I'm trying to do this alone. What I need is a circle of support. Mm-hmm. I have no plan. I'm just running every day, going on my bike and doing it all over the place. I'm not eating well. I don't know why I'm doing this. You need to know why you're doing it. What is your purpose? You need to say, I'm going to do this amount of time, and I'm going to take care of my body this way. You can say, this is my system moving forward. This is my plan as I progress, and I'm going to find people who can support me along the way. That applies to everything.
I think you just said it, right? That applies to everything. So it's about setting a goal. And I mean, when you know that your event is July 27, you know that you have a year to train, then you know all the steps that you have to take. And you know you cannot perform it on August 1st. No, the event is on July 27th. So I think it's putting yourself a little bit under pressure that also create the enthusiasm for the sports that I've done. Yeah. Muy bien con el español. So we see that Gabe is a very talented person. And maybe to finish up, tell the listeners how we met. I think that's an interesting story.
So, I mean, we met in a cave, a cave, not the physical kind, the concept. It's a initiative, it's a project by a company called Cave Day out of New York. And they are trying to reinvent our relationship to work. And what they're doing, they started off in person. Now, of course, it's all virtual, but I'm thinking they're going to probably do hybrid later, is they help individuals get into a working sprint where you are monotasking, doing harder tasks that you usually push aside for the easier ones, or focusing on the important things to do as opposed to the urgent emails and notifications that keep flooding into our inboxes and, social media channels and so on. And so you and I were in a cave there to work on our projects, and you mentioned what you're talking about, and I raised my hand somehow and got your attention, and here we are today.
Fantastic. Yeah. And the Cave Day, we'll put that in the show notes. Cave Day is an interesting organization, and I think it has helped me to focus, even though that's what I learned from sport. So I know I have 1 hour to go for a run. I have also 1 hour a sprint in Cave Days. I learned a lot, certainly. But thank you so much, Gabe, for being spontaneous and saying yes. Certainly a lot of good information. And also it felt good that I was being interviewed on how to become an Ironman. So we want to hear from you when you become an Ironman. But first you become a father. I think that's another triathlon that's another sports event that requires your attention, probably, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. It was totally fun on the show. And I look forward to hearing new episodes and keeping up to date with what you're doing.
Sure. Thank you. How cool was that? Gabe was basically interviewing me. He wants to know how to become an Ironman. Interesting. What is your journey? What can you take away? Take it from the Ironwoman. We have episodes every Monday, every Wednesday. Chime in, like us, leave a comment, or contact us. Don't forget to order Get Loopy. Get Loopy is the plant-based snack with a lot of proteins. Nutrition is very important. You get 20% off of your first order. And Take It from the Ironwoman is also a book. You can order it online from Amazon as an ebook or a paperback. And coaching, running coaching or executive coaching, group coaching is being offered. Reach out. All the information is in the show notes. Let's talk. How can I help you?